Specific exhaustion when your balance ends in zero. Not 7 cents, not 42, just zero.
It's a clean number, surgical. You're standing at the exact center of the financial universe, the null zone.
Most think the journey is just stacking more. Get a job, save, invest. But that's not what happens.
You don't just have more money, you become a different person. The physics of life change completely. We'll map the entire spectrum, 0 to 100 million. A psychological journey, not a lecture.
You're driving a car with no suspension. Every pebble in the road becomes catastrophic. Time is a predator hunting you. 2 hours on a bus to save $4. 40 minutes fighting a bot over a fee. The less money you have, the more everything costs. That couch? Triple. That loan? A ransom note.
Then something shifts. Through sheer determination, you break through the mist. At 0, the emotion is panic. At $1,000, it becomes maintenance anxiety.
You buy things not from desire, but from fear. The warranty, the better tires, defensive living. Now you know exactly what you can't afford. Knowledge becomes a sharper form of torture.
At 100,000, you leave the defensive crouch. Money becomes a weapon, not a shield. You can quit a job you hate. Tell a boss no. That's the wealth of agency. But there's a new tax. Perceived wealth. Everyone starts doing math about your money.
Million, the finish line. But if you earn your way here, it's anticlimactic. Invisible risk management.
$1 million invested generates $40,000 a year forever. But you can't spend the million. Real wealth isn't a rented Lamborghini. It's a Honda and a spreadsheet with NASA precision. At 0, the government gives. At 1,000, it takes. At $1 million, it's your silent business partner.
The tax code is a 70,000-page weapon. You're standing in the crosshairs.
At 10 million, you decouple from things. You enter the economy of access and control.
You don't buy stocks for 20%. You buy a board seat. You don't have a lawyer. You have counsel.
4% withdrawal means $400,000 a year. Over $1,000 a day. Forever. You charter a jet to skip a layover. Time is the one thing you can't make more of. But the shadow is preservation paranoia. Not how to make rent. How to not ruin your children. A 10% correction isn't 10,000 lost. It's $1 million swing in one afternoon. 9 figures. The surreal. Money becomes a gravitational field. The world bends around you. You pay taxes like a corporation. You own things that own things. You borrow to live.
$5 million on a campaign is a rounding error. A hospital wing is a negotiation over naming rights.
Wide shot. A vast, empty estate at twilight. Lights on. Nobody home.
You're no longer in the economy. You are the weather system. Fewer than 500 peers on Earth.
The real line isn't broke to rich.
It's vulnerable to defensive, to agent, to target.
At 0, vulnerable to the world. At 100 million, vulnerable to the idea of you.
Sound of the coin spinning again. Clink. It stops.
The panic of 0 and the paranoia of 100 million are different dialects of the same language.
The question isn't how to climb. It's at what rung the ladder starts leaning against the wrong wall.
The silence is what we search for.